Hello, I'm Brian with glutenfreehomebrewing.com. This is a follow-up to our last video where we brewed with the Grainfather for the first time. We got some comments, we got some emails, which we hope to answer in this follow-up video. We look forward to brewing with the system a few more times to get really comfortable with it, but we wanted to share with you what we did learn. To begin with, we will answer some of the questions, which included what was the grain bill size. For this first batch, we did a 4-gallon batch size. The reason we did that was because we bought a 2.5-gallon keg so that we could have some beer on tap, but we also wanted to have some beer for handing out for samples, get feedback as far as what they thought about the beer we brewed, is it true to style, etc. But we didn't want to have too many bottles of beer laying around. We also have had some feedback from people that have brewed with the system, stating that once the grain bill sizes got to about 15 or 16 pounds, that the grain basket in the boiler body, it was really maxing that out. And you may recall sometime last year we did a video on the dimensional weight of gluten-free beer, and we kind of compared the different gluten-free beers. Here we have a guest star right here that wants to be in the video, and we kind of compared the different dimensional weights of the different gluten-free malts, and there was somewhat of a difference between the different malts. So being the first time we brewed, we didn't want to take any throw in any challenges that we weren't ready to face, and we wanted to play it safe and just work with a 4-gallon batch size. Obviously the grain bill size will also depend on whether or not you're going for a low gravity or high gravity beer, and those are just some things that we wanted to address on another day. We also used the exact size of our grain bill was 12.8 pounds, of which 3.2 pounds were rice malts. So that gave us exactly 10% rice hulls, so that we didn't experience any stuck mash. Although we didn't experience a stuck mash, we did use the 500 micron stainless steel mesh screen, and that we covered in, I think, the first video, and that did require us to restrict the flow rate of the recirculating pump. We did that after the pump, which is the advice that we got from some of our friends and brewers that use a rim style brewing system, that you don't want to restrict the flow rate before the pump, but after the pump is fine. And we just found that we just needed to dial that back. Percentage wise, I don't know, maybe 15 to 25%. It wasn't real significant. We are having a 1,800 micron stainless steel mesh screen cut as well, that we're having cut for this for the Grainfather, and we suspect that probably with the 100 or 1,000, the 1,000 for those of you that have used the bazooka tubes for the cooler mash tuns, that's approximately 1,000 microns, and we suspect that at that size we probably wouldn't have to restrict the flow rate of the recirculation of the wort, and having used the bazooka screen in the cooler mash tuns, we know that very little malt really ever passed through, so we're interested in brewing with those two mesh screens, and we'll be happy to share the results of that as well. One issue that we did have was we had a difficult time reaching the 212 degree boil temp. That was what was pre-programmed into the system, and according to Grainfather, for every 500 feet above sea level, you can anticipate losing a degree in the boil temperature. And we kind of did a search on our location, and we're at about 1,880 feet, so we should lose a few degrees there. We didn't know that going into this. We probably should have read a little bit more about that, but that was an important bit of information that we now know. We did notice that at the lower temperature, and even at 212 degrees, we don't know how vigorous of a boil that would have been in the Grainfather. Based on the boil off rate that the Grainfather has on their website, which is 0.4 gallons per hour, it seems like the boil isn't as vigorous as maybe we have had done on our propane systems. So what we're going to do is we're going to order the jacket, the Grainfather jacket, to insulate the boiler body and see if we can get to that 212 degrees, even though we are about almost 2,000 feet above sea level, and see if we can achieve a little bit more vigorous of a boil. There has been some interest expressed in doing kind of like a step-by-step tutorial using the Grainfather and similar systems. So that's something that we might add to our tutorials. We definitely need to do a few more brews ourselves, but we are definitely happy to share that information on our website as well. So our initial feedback for the Grainfather was it's a great system. We trusted all the math that Grainfather had calculated, even using gluten-free malts, and had met most of our targets. Again, with the issue that we had not reaching our boil temperature and it not being as vigorous of a boil-off rate, we did end up with a little bit more post-boil volume. And then by the time we bottled, we did not get to the projected alcohol by volume, because there was a little bit more water in the fermenter tank than there should have been. But we know that now. We're going to brew again with those things taken into consideration, and we'll continue to post follow-up videos, continue to share information about what we find with the 1,800 micron stainless steel mesh screens, and any other information that we think you guys will benefit from. And please feel free to continue following up with comments, and emails are great, and on Facebook and everything. We really appreciate the interest in this brewing system. It worked great for brewing our beer that we made the other day. And that's about it for now. Me and my co-star here will sign off. Again, Brian with glutenfreehomebrewing.com. And this is Rosemary.